To edit a board, I picked our tutorial board, which already has a few columns created and cards on it. And one of the card is actually this one, where if you click it, it will actually give you links to our knowledge base to show you how to do these things. But in this case, I'm going to focus on strictly editing a board. So I'm going to go right here on Board Designer. And from here, I can do everything I need. For example, I can rename the board title, Tutorial 1. I can assign it to a group if it wasn't already. Now, not every organization has group. It's only for enterprise, but this is an option. When I'm done editing, just click Done Editing. Access to my help. Access to advanced features for the board itself, like all your history, copying this board, archive, delete, and collapsing and uncollapsing column, which is a big feature here. As you can see, when you enter the board editor, all the columns are collapsed, and if I go expand all columns, now I see my board in full detail. The backlog is editable, but there's limitation on the backlog. There's no max limit, for example. There's only a min. And there's also no ability to change this column state, which I'll explain in a second. So all you can do for the backlog is change the name of the backlog and add explicit agreement. And also set a minimum width limit if you choose to. Right next, you'll see is there's a plus drop zone. So this means that this is where you can add new columns and start designing your board. You'll see it here after the backlog column, but you'll see it on the right side of any container. So a container is one of those white container where you don't have cards in a white container. You have a card container, which is represented by these gray sections. Gray sections are card containers. White containers can hold other containers either in a horizontal column format, which is this one, or a vertical, which is the one I'm going to show you next. So this is a column format because, as you can see, the columns are in horizontal format, and there's a plus on the right side, and this is a vertical format for rows where the plus is at the bottom. So anytime you see a plus, it means that you can create new columns. To the right side of the board, you will always see a plus column to create additional column. So the way it works, it's pretty simple. You can edit anything that is an editable field, like we've mentioned. And whatever you do here will represent on the board immediately. So here I can put a new width limit of 1, and I can create new columns. So I'm going to create columns on the right side here. I'm going to create a new column here called done. So after the done, I'll have a done. I'm going to keep the status of done here. So be careful. The statuses for the column have a huge impact on everything related to metrics. So you have to pick wisely. A done column should be green. Now, as you can see, I don't have a lot of options here. That's because of the position of this column. It's after another done column, so I only have these two options. If I click here, I have all the options because this is the first done column, so every column to the left of it can have any of these options. So be mindful that you don't always get all the options. It depends where you're positioned on the board. Just be aware, make your done columns green done, make your in progress column yellow, like these ones. And if you have a concept of buffer, which I'll show you in a second, then turn it orange. To do would be blue, and none is interesting. So none is a column that will not be tracked in the metrics. So that's one of the options if you don't want it tracked. So for example, I could make this one a none column and just call it notes. Many of our boards have columns at the end on the right that are just for cards that never move. They're just there for adding documentation and things like that. If I wanted to, before the verify, create a column, I would add a card container here. I would drag it using the drag and drop and put it right here. And I would say ready to verify. And this is a typical buffer column where it's not a column where you're going to work. It's a column that when you're done executing work, you're going to put it in this column so that people who are going to verify your work are going to see that there's cards ready for them. So this is a great use of a buffer column. So that's it. That's how you edit a board. You can add containers of various sort. Remember, the gray ones are the only ones that can hold cards. The other ones are just for designing the boards. We seriously believe, that's the reason we built Kanban Zone, that you can recreate any board you can imagine online. So feel free to contact us if you need help, but this will let you create any board you can imagine. So that's it. This is how you edit a board. There's going to be another video for advanced board editing. This was just to give you the basics. And if I click done editing, you're going to see my changes are going to start showing here. So my ready to verify here, I added a minimum WIP limit, and I added a notes column on the right. If you want to make further changes, go back into Board Designer and go again.